The oak-panelled conference room felt colder than the winter storm rattling against the windows outside. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked like a slow drumbeat, marking every second that I didn't want to be there. My grandfather, Richard Cross, had been gone only 10 days, and already the family was circling like vultures. I sat near the end of the polished mahogany table, my hands clasped so tightly in my lap that my knuckles had gone white. The lawyer cleared his throat, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses as he opened the heavy leather binder. His voice was steady, but before he could speak, my mother, Evelyn Cross, rose from her chair with a poise she'd practiced for decades. She slipped her manicured hand over Victor's arm, her new husband's, and announced with terrifying calm, "From this day forward, Victor will run Cross Enterprises. Father would want stability, and Victor is the only one with the experience to lead." Her declaration hit the room like a thunderclap. I froze, heart pounding. Victor, who had been in our lives barely a year, sat back in his chair with a smug half-smile. He had spent the last few months dropping little barbs at me, calling me too green or the sentimental granddaughter, and now it all made sense. They'd been preparing this moment. I scanned the faces around the table. My uncles avoided my eyes, my aunts folded their hands neatly, and even some of the board members sat like statues, as though Helena's proclamation had been rehearsed with them beforehand. A play staged without my knowledge. But there was one problem with her confident speech. My grandfather had entrusted everything to me. The memory flooded back, 1 week before he passed when I sat by his hospital bed. His hand, frail but still strong enough to grip mine, squeezed as he whispered, "Evelyn, you are the only one I trust. Don't let them take what I built. They'll try, but I've prepared everything." Effective immediately. Victor laughed, the sound dry and mocking. "Sweetheart," he said to me, as though I were a child fumbling in a sandbox, "you can't be serious about this. $1 billion corporation isn't a school project. It needs real leadership, real vision. You're 26. What could you possibly know?" I said nothing. I only met his gaze, holding it until his smirk wavered. Helena's face hardened into something almost unrecognizable. "If that's the way this is going to be," she said, voice low and cutting, "then pack your things. You're no longer welcome in this house." For a second I blinked in confusion. Then I laughed, a short, incredulous sound. "Our house? You mean grandfather's house?" I tilted my head. "You might want to read the will more carefully, Mother. I think you'll find it isn't yours anymore." The silence that followed was deafening. Her face drained of colour, her lips pressed so tight they trembled. Victor shifted in his chair, suddenly restless, his earlier confidence cracking. The lawyer closed the binder and reached into his briefcase. "There is one more matter," he said evenly. Mr. Cross left behind a sealed letter with specific instructions. He asked that it be read aloud after the will's declaration. I felt a chill crawl down my spine. A letter. Grandfather had planned this moment, down to the last word. Helena's eyes flickered with unease. She knew, as I did, that whatever was in that envelope was about to strip away whatever shred of control she thought she still had. The envelope lay on the table like a live wire, but the lawyer placed his hand over it, deliberately waiting. His pause gave the room a chance to breathe, or suffocate. I could hear the storm battering against the tall windows, branches scraping like fingernails. My mother, Helena, broke the silence first, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "This is absurd," she hissed, my father watching the subtle twitch at the corner of his mouth. He wasn't offering guidance, he was offering a puppet role. Across the table, my Uncle Malcolm coughed into his hand. His eyes darted to me, then back to Helena. Evelyn, he muttered, barely above a whisper. Be careful. They've been talking with outside partners, even before your grandfather passed. The words slammed into me like a hidden blade. Partners? Competitors? The betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was tactical. My chest tightened, but I forced my voice to stay calm. So that was the plan all along, I said slowly, turning to my mother. Grandfather dies, the company naturally falls to you, and then you hand it over to Victor while everyone else looks the other way. Helena's eyes narrowed. You don't understand the responsibilities of this world, Evelyn. Wealth isn't just inheritance, it's power. It takes strategy, diplomacy, vision, things you don't have. Or maybe, I countered, things you lost a long time ago. Her nostrils flared, but she stayed silent. The lawyer cleared his throat again. To address concerns about Evelyn's ability to transition, Mr. Cross appointed a council of advisors, trusted executives who have worked alongside him for decades. Their loyalty is to him, and now to her. They will guide Evelyn in her role as CEO. The announcement landed like a hammer. Helena's face twisted in fury. Victor's knuckles whitened where he gripped the table. This wasn't just a clean inheritance. It was an unshakable fortress my grandfather had built for me. Victor forced a laugh, but it sounded hollow. Advisors? Babysitters, more like. That won't stop the sharks when they smell blood. He leaned closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear. And believe me, Evelyn, they've already caught the scent. For the first time since the reading began, I let myself smile. Dated October 12th, the lawyer began, his voice steady. 2 months before Mr. Cross's passing. He glanced at me before continuing. It reads, Evelyn, if you are hearing this, it means my time has ended. And I imagine by now your mother is furious. She will tell you this is unfair, that she was meant to inherit it all. But fairness was never her goal. She chased comfort, not responsibility. She mistook entitlement for leadership. Helena flinched just slightly, but enough for me to notice. Her eyes remained fixed on the lawyer, though her jaw worked as if she were chewing glass. The lawyer read on. Your mother believes money is power, but she never learned that true power comes with sacrifice. I gave her opportunities. I offered her responsibility. Time and again she squandered it, choosing luxury trips over board meetings, quick profits over long-term stability. And when she married Victor, I knew my fears were justified. He is not a partner, Evelyn. He is a strategist, an opportunist, a man who sees people only as ladders to climb. Victor's face turned crimson. That old man didn't know a damn thing about me. He started, but Helena gripped his arm sharply, silencing him. Her knuckles were white. The lawyer continued. I have watched you, Evelyn. Quiet, diligent, patient. You never asked me for money. You asked me questions. You studied the business not for what it could give you, but for what it meant to the family. That is why I chose you. You are the only one I can trust to protect what we built. I swallowed hard, my throat burning. My grandfather had seen me, really seen me, in a way my own mother never had. The letter wasn't finished. This will not be easy. Helena will fight you. Victor will manipulate you. And the board may doubt you. But I have not left you unarmed. I appointed men and women I trust to guide you. You are not alone, Evelyn. And about the cracks in a family that had been festering long before my grandfather passed. I looked at my mother. Her face was a mask of ice, but beneath it, I saw the truth. She wasn't just angry at losing wealth, she was humiliated. Her father had stripped her of the one thing she thought she was entitled to, his trust. And now, she would stop at nothing to take it back. The storm had followed me into the small conference room where Helena insisted we meet the next day. The walls were sterile white, but the air felt heavy, charged, as if secrets clung to the corners. Victor sat at the head of the table, legs crossed, his Rolex flashing under the fluorescent light. Helena stood behind him, arms folded, her presence more intimidating than his smug posture. "Thank you for agreeing to see us privately," Victor began smoothly, as though this were some polite business lunch. "No lawyers, no board, just family." Family. The words stung like vinegar on an open wound. I sat across from him, spine straight, refusing to flinch. "Say what you came to say." Victor leaned forward, hands clasped. "Evelyn, we're not here to fight. We're here to offer you a lifeline. Running a billion-dollar company is impossible for someone at your stage in life. The board knows it, the media knows it. One mistake and Cross Enterprises collapses. But Helena and I, we can help you. You'll stay the face, the darling CEO. We'll handle the operations, quietly. No stress, no pressure. You get your inheritance without the burden." I raised an eyebrow. "So you're asking me to be a mascot?" Helena stepped forward, her voice softer now, carrying that practiced, maternal tone I'd only ever heard when she wanted something. "It's the safest option, Evelyn. You won't have to deal with hostile boardrooms or cutthroat investors. Think of it, your life back. Travel," but it was enough. Victor's patience cracked. He slammed his palm onto the table, the sound like a gunshot. "Listen to me, Evelyn. You think this is a victory, but it's a target on your back. There are sharks in this industry who eat people like you for breakfast. And when you drown, don't think we'll be there to save you." I rose slowly, feeling the weight of the moment settle around me. "I don't need saving. Not from you." I turned to leave, but Helena's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. Her nails dug into my skin as her voice dropped to a hiss. "You think you've won? You don't understand how this world works. Power doesn't come from papers and signatures. It comes from alliances. And you have none." I met her gaze, calm, steady. "Grandfather gave me more than papers, Mother. He gave me people who actually believe in me. That's something you've never had." Her grip loosened. For the first time, I saw fear flicker behind her fury. I walked out of the conference room, leaving them in their sterile little kingdom. But as the door clicked shut, I knew this wasn't over. They couldn't win legally. Now they would turn to darker methods, and I had to be ready. 3 mornings later, I walked into the boardroom for my first official meeting as CEO. The long mahogany table gleamed under the light, but the air was thick with something unspoken. Suspicion, doubt, maybe even hostility. The older executives, men who had been with my grandfather since the days when deals were sealed with a handshake and a glass of scotch, watched me like I was a child who had wandered into the wrong room. Before I could even settle into the chair at the head, Mr. Callahan, one of the senior directors, leaned forward, fingers steepled. "Evelyn, let's speak plainly. Richard was a visionary, but naming you his successor was hasty. You lack the experience." So now they were poisoning it from the inside. It wasn't just sabotage, it was character assassination. That night, as I sat alone in my office with the city lights glowing like embers beyond the glass tower, I made the call my grandfather had warned me I'd need to make. Marcus Kane answered on the second ring. His voice was gravelly, edged with the authority of someone who had wrestled titans and won. He had been my grandfather's partner in the company's earliest days, before stepping down years ago. "I was wondering when you'd call, kid," he said. I need help, I admitted. The words tasted like surrender, but Marcus didn't let me wallow. You don't need help, he corrected. You need allies. Lucky for you, your grandfather made sure I'd be waiting when this day came. The next morning, Marcus walked into Cross Enterprises as if he'd never left. He carried with him more than just his reputation. He carried the loyalty of people who still revered him. Together, we combed through communications, traced digital fingerprints, and found what we needed: emails, texts, even call logs, proof that Victor had reached out to rival corporations, offering them pieces of Cross Enterprises if they supported him as interim CEO. When I saw the evidence laid out before me, my stomach twisted with both rage and vindication. My mother hadn't just chosen the wrong man. She had chosen a man willing to burn our legacy to the ground for his own ambition. Marcus looked at me, his eyes sharp. This is more than sabotage. This is treason against the company. We take this to the board and he's finished. I nodded, but my mind was already spinning. If we presented this, it wouldn't just be Victor's downfall. It would drag my mother with him, exposing her complicity. Part of me hesitated, the old part of me that still craved her approval, still wanted her to look at me with something other than disappointment. But then I remembered the way she'd gripped my wrist, nails digging in, whispering that I had no allies. The echo of her contempt burned. An alternative plan will now be presented. Right on cue, the double doors opened. Helena entered first, her chin high, her designer heels clicking against the marble. Victor followed, tailored suit immaculate, carrying the confidence of a man who believed the stage was his. They strode to the center of the room, and Victor spread his arms as though blessing an audience. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began smoothly, "let's be honest with ourselves. This company is more than a family name. It is billions in assets, thousands of employees, global partners. With all respect to Evelyn, she is young, inexperienced. Investors are panicking, headlines are merciless. But there is a solution. I am prepared to step in as CEO. Evelyn will retain her title and visibility, but I will ensure stability. Together, we can protect Richard Cross's legacy." Polite murmurs rippled through the room. Victor smiled, confident. Helena placed a hand on his arm, playing the image of loyal wife and supportive daughter. I let the silence hang a beat too long, then rose from my chair. "Funny," I said, my voice steady, "because that's not what you said in private." Victor's smile faltered. "Excuse me?" I nodded to Marcus, who slid a folder across the table. "These," I said, "are copies of emails, texts, and call records, proof that Victor Davenport has been contacting rival corporations. He offered them insider deals, undermining Cross Enterprises, all while pretending to protect it." Gasps echoed around the table. Chairs scraped as board members leaned forward, flipping through the evidence. Callahan's face darkened as he read line after damning line. Victor's voice rose, desperate. "This is fabricated, a setup." "No," Marcus said coolly. "These records came directly from secured servers, verified by the legal team Richard left in place. There is no setup, just betrayal." Her voice low and venomous. "You'll regret this, Evelyn. You don't know what kind of enemies you've just made." I stayed silent because there was nothing left to say. Her threats no longer frightened me. As the doors closed behind them, the room exhaled. Marcus leaned toward me, a faint smirk on his lips. "Congratulations, kid. You just survived your first coup." But as I sat back down, I knew it wasn't over. Victor and Helena had lost the boardroom battle, but they would not disappear quietly, and the war they were planning would be far more dangerous than a smear campaign. The weeks that followed were a blur of headlines, meetings, and the quiet hum of survival. At first, the media devoured me like fresh meat. Every article dripped skepticism. Cross heiress out of her depth. Youth or hubris? Investors doubt Evelyn Cross. But slowly, with Marcus's counsel and the loyal advisors my grandfather had left behind, the narrative began to shift. I granted interviews, not defensive ones, but sharp, calculated, explaining my vision, my grandfather's principles, and exposing just enough of Victor's treachery to prove that I had defended the company, not endangered it. The tide turned. Headlines began to read differently. Young CEO defies critics. Cross Enterprises recovers under Evelyn's command. Stock prices rebounded. Investors who had once hesitated now leaned in, curious to see if I could pull off what everyone else swore was impossible. But at night, in the quiet of my inherited home, the same house my mother once tried to banish me from, the shadows still whispered. I would replay her last words, the venom in her promise. You'll regret this. Sometimes I swore I saw movement in the corner of the estate grounds. Other times, anonymous envelopes arrived with newspaper clippings circled in red ink. Failed CEOs, ruined empires. No signature, no explanation, just warnings. A year later, I stood at a podium beneath the bright lights of a global business summit. Cameras flashed. Your grandfather would be proud. I smiled faintly. Thanks, Marcus. He waved it off. Don't thank me. This was your fight. You won it. Yet as he left, silence returned, and I noticed the envelope on my desk. No stamp, no address, just my name, written in a hand I didn't recognize. I slid my finger under the flap and pulled out a single sheet of paper. The message was short, scrawled in thick black ink. This isn't finished. My blood ran cold, because deep down, I already knew who had sent it.